everybody. I usually attempt to, try to get my thoughts together a little more before jumping on a Facebook Live. But I'm gonna already start tapping. So if you've never watched one of these before and you don't know what I'm doing, just try to follow along as much as you can. Damn, this can be hard. So this is video for anybody who may have served in Afghanistan. And who might be having a hard time with everything going on in the news. I know sometimes it has been my default to, something shifted, I'm feeling better. It's sometimes been my default to minimize my service in the military. I served from 2012 to 2017, and I was a behavioral health officer. And in 2014, I had the opportunity to deploy to Afghanistan, serving as part of a combat stress team, and spent my time in Camp Phoenix outside of Kabul, and then that was 3 months, 6 months in Bagram. My job, in addition to being able to be handler for the combat stress dog, Major Eden, which was pretty awesome. But I was the outreach for behavioral health, and so I traveled around a lot responding to critical events. So anybody who is killed in action, helping teams process afterwards. And so, I don't know if any other medical officers feel this way sometimes. I mean, I know some of you do because I've met you and we've talked about this, but if you're not the person, we all held weapons, but if you're not the person firing the weapon, going out on patrols, it's easy to kind of compartmentalize and hold a lot of space for everybody else. That's what you have to do, right? But now you're home and you're watching all this stuff. And you're remembering the stories that you've held for your patients or just your fellow service members. Or you might be picturing locals that you met that extended a kindness to you. Fed you saffron tea. And it can feel kind of hard. And so, I spent a lot of time yesterday with my husband, who's still active duty Army, just talking and not judging myself for lots of feelings coming up. And today has just been more of the same. So I'm deciding to tap on it, use EFT on the sadness coming up for me so I can just pay attention to it till my nervous nervous system that I hear it and that it's okay. So sometimes what I like to think of EFT as is you're letting these parts of you talk, right? Whether it's sadness or anger or I think a lot of what is coming up for me is helplessness, because on top of that you have the earthquake in Haiti that occurred yesterday, and I'm very involved with disaster response. So there's just a lot of feelings of hopelessness coming up. Helplessness, not hopelessness. Maybe a little both. So I can already feel, just because I've been tapping through the points as I talk about this, I feel much better. My chest was really tight. My throat was really tight before. And if I had even tried to, I think, talk about where I was feeling things in my body, I think I would have escalated way too much. So if you are ever just feeling incredibly emotional, you're trying to reach for EFT, you know this tool, and you're like, I don't know what to say, just start tapping on those points and keep breathing and talk, whether it is to you out loud or just to yourself. Just give an opportunity to these parts of you that are trying so hard to shut themselves down so you don't feel. Just give them a chance to get out whatever they need to. Because if we don't, that's when we tend to break down, or we just hold on to it. We resist our feelings. We get sick. We blow up at people we care about. So you can just tap through these points for as long as you need to until you feel better. And just keep talking until you calm down enough that you can tune in to the specific parts that really need a voice. So if you've never watched one of these videos before, what I'm doing is called EFT tapping. And just when you finish here, go watch some of the other videos. I give you the history of it and how this helps, what this is doing, and what the actual points are. But in my helplessness feeling, sitting on my chair before, I decided, well, here are some other people I could help maybe. Maybe there's some people, hey Matt, that could use this right now, because I know if I'm feeling this way, there are a ton of other people feeling a lot worse. And that's not to minimize, me, but here is my way of helping. So now I'm feeling a little better. I'm going to come up with a setup statement. And so this is when we get really specific about what part is bringing up the most sadness or the most helplessness. And for me, I try to keep your eyes open if you're not used to doing this, because it's really easy if you close your eyes and you don't know how to regulate. It's really easy to just kind of get sucked in and feel worse and not be able to regulate at all. So please keep your eyes open, keep tapping, and if you don't feel better, shoot me a message and I will link you up with resources to help do a deeper dive into this. I will put them in the comments once I eventually post this, but for now, I got to take care of me, and I'm empowering you to take care of you too. So for me, and I just need to keep tapping because I can't even kind of quite I can't tune into the specific thing that bothers me without kind of tuning into that emotion even more. So I'm just really going to focus right now on some grounding, and I'm really kind of tuning into the sound I can hear of my tapping as I tap on the top of my head, as I tap on my eyebrow. Just really paying attention to that sound right now is what I, for some reason, just really tuning into. And I really wish I had some water, but I just got out of the shower, so I took it and I left it in the kitchen. So the most painful part of this for me is thinking about the plight of women in Afghanistan and just feeling really helpless. I mean, there's no winners in any of this. I mean, maybe the Taliban's winners, I don't know. But when I think of the citizens of Afghanistan, and in particular women, and just knowing that they're going to get the worst of this, it makes me feel really helpless. And I think of a post that I saw yesterday from somebody I had the privilege of meeting during my time working at Millwood. Actually, there was a couple of women, of other female veterans and active duty soldiers. And some of their interpreters. And I can only imagine what they're feeling right now. And so what activates me the most is thinking of that post, feeling helpless and feeling really sad. So of those two emotions, I can't even tell which one I feel most. Maybe I feel sad because I feel helpless. But I think I'm ready to come up with a setup statement around that. So you can either tap along with me and focus on my words, especially if you are feeling really tuned into this right now, really tuned into your own emotion, or focus it where you need to. So I'm going to start tapping on the side of my hand. Even though when I think about this post and I think about the plight of women in Afghanistan, and I feel it in my throat, and it's at a 7, and I feel it in my chest at a 5, this kind of tightness, this just wave of emotion. I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. And even though I keep picturing this post and thinking about women in Afghanistan and women that I've served with, and it makes me feel really sad. And I feel it in my throat, just in my chest in general, this hollowness. I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. And even though I'm feeling this emotion, this tightness in my throat, and it feels like sadness, I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. I feel this sadness. I feel this sadness in my throat. I feel this sadness in my throat. Thinking about I'm in Afghanistan. I feel this sadness in my throat. I feel this sadness in my throat. I feel this sadness. I feel it in my throat. Whew. So I'm feeling better enough that I'm like embarrassed a little about being on here crying. So I guess that's progress. But that's probably worth tapping on. Even though I'm feeling embarrassed, I feel it in my cheeks. Because I'm on here crying. And I have this mean little voice telling me to stop making this about myself. Because there are others that have it worse. Which, by the way, I know isn't fair to me, but it needs to come out. And I feel that in my throat. So because that's getting a little overwhelming for me, I'm just going to go back to tapping on the top of my head and tapping through the points. And just, again, focusing on my breathing, focusing on really just feeling, noticing like how my fingertips feel against my skin. All of these are grounding me like right here and now to the present, so I don't get sucked into that emotion too much. I don't want to be like all the way up at a 10. And so just know if that ever happens to you, that's normal, because like you're getting tuned into this emotion before you can get tuned out. So, and that's okay. So like I said, just keep tapping through the points. Focus on, if there's something in your room, I'm looking at green things. So I have a postcard, a sticky note, trees in this picture of this little girl holding a hawk that I think is hilarious. So I'm feeling better. So I'm going to go back into that, because this is something that kind of comes up for me, not just with military service, but sometimes even as a coach or somebody who is white and middle class and privileged, right? It's when I do feel something, my instinct is to shut that down and be like, nope, other people have it worse. You're not allowed to feel that. So I'm going to go back to that. So even though I'm feeling embarrassed for sharing this because other people had it worse, and you can see I'm already able to get through that now. I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. And even though I'm feeling embarrassed for sharing because other people have it worse than me in terms of their Afghanistan experience, their helplessness as women experience, I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. And even though there's a part of me, because now it's just a part, I no longer am having that big reaction. There's just this like little semblance of that wants to get out. So even though there's still this part of me that feels embarrassed for sharing, like I'm making this about myself and I don't deserve to. I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. Get a little embarrassed. Other people have it worse. So I shouldn't feel this way. I can't really get a handle of where this thing is coming from, so I'm just gonna like kind of allow myself to talk that out. Yeah, feeling embarrassed. Other people have it worse than me. And I am embarrassed to feel this way when I've got a roof over my head, family and friends that love me, certainly in no danger of being harmed right now where I'm sitting. I'm feeling a lot better. I think my like rational brain is kicking in, and I know it's kind of kicking in, and I'm allowing for more space of that. Yes, okay, yep, it's true that you have those things, and it is switching more to just this gratitude and feeling like it's like a feeling of clarity that I know what I can do to help people, even if it's something like this, in my current job, and reaching out to friends I served with, and being active in the things that I can control. And I'm feeling a lot better. So I'm going to stop tapping now. And I'm going to do something scary and leave this up, even though I'm like, oh my God, you look a mess, girl. But that's okay. Antonio, thank you. I'm glad this helped you. I hope anybody else watching got an idea of how to use this when you are feeling so kind of emotionally dysregulated. You can't even figure out like, where is this emotion coming from, right? Because so you kind of saw me being like, all right, it's this big thing. How can I tune that in and make it smaller? And then the feelings, switched around and changed. So all that is normal. It's okay. If you need assistance, please reach out to me. I will post, services and things that I know of, maybe ways that I help myself, but, foundationally, like I said before, like, empower yourselves to reach for help. I know as veterans, we get very caught up in like, we're the, gatekeepers, we're the ones that have to do everything for everybody else. And that is a story that keeps us stuck. It is a story that keeps us damaged. It's a story that keeps us small. Like, we used to always talk about it, Melwood. If anybody watching this has ever worked with me, I was ever at one of our retreats, you put the gas mask, sorry, not the gas mask, the oxygen mask on an airplane on yourself for a reason. I mean, you have to be able to put that burden down and reach for hands that are extending to you. There are things out there, ways to ask for help, ways to get involved. Team Rubicon has been a huge saving grace for me in my transition from the military. We're a veteran-led disaster response, and earthquake in Haiti, we're mobilizing for there. Storm season is coming up. We also just have a ton of need for people in communities reaching out and taking care of one another. That is being helpful is the biggest weapon against feeling helpless, right? And so there's lots of little ways to do that, but first help yourselves. I hope this was helpful. Love you all. Thanks for watching.
We don't understand quite a bit the epidemiology of long COVID. We understand that, vaccines work, reduce the risk of long COVID. We understand that to some extent antivirals also reduce the risk of long COVID. We also understand that reinfection raises the risk of long COVID. So all of that understanding should feed into some optimism that we've made some progress. I think the major we note lack of progress in clinical trials. As I indicated, they're too slow and too small to yield definitive answers. And really, for the person who is hurting from long COVID, they need that treatment yesterday. And we've, while we've made,